fresh figures released by the Indian government highlight that India's GDP growth rate stands at 7.2% over the 2022-23 financial year. Joining us on the show to talk more about this is Dr. Jaijit Bhattacharya, President, Center for Digital Economy Policy Research. Dr. Bhattacharya, what do you make of some of the anomalies that India has worked against, and despite these anomalies come out victorious? Of course, we have our challenges, and those are WIPs. That's a work in progress that will continue to happen. But at the same time, swimming against this mammoth tide of recession, which has engulfed the entire world, for a country like India, for the size of a country like India, what kind of an achievement would you credit this to be?
I think this is completely credible for to the point of prudence on the behalf of the government. It would have been very easy for the government to fall victim to the pressures of freebies, and let's just call it what it is. And look, the people did face a lot of pain during the COVID years. But unlike countries such as US, as was mentioned by Patikrat, or Germany, which gave 30,000 euros to any small business and just wrote that check, somebody has to come back and pay for it. At the time that these countries were doing what they were doing, India stood its ground and in a very pointed fashion provided support to the most vulnerable sections of the country. So there was pointed 2,000 rupees being given to those who really needed it straight into their bank account, rather than spraying money all over the place. So it was an extremely prudent policy that the government had taken up. Let me also step back and look at the journey that India has had. We are now the fifth largest economy, going into the fourth largest economy, and pretty soon we will be the third largest economy. But we started off being a poor country of poor people. In the last 75 years, we have become a rich country, but still of poor people. We are still a nation of poor people with the country becoming rich. And we still need to continue at the scorching pace that we have picked up in the last few years to press on that advantage that we have gained. Now, historically, or even if you look at the statistics as they play out, India's advantage of being the market. We are 16% of the global population. We are the market. And what has been happening in the last 200 years is that market was not accessible to us, as in the Indian businesses. And so we very quickly went down the journey of becoming one of the poorest countries because we could not access our own markets. What we have seen happening in the last 5, 6, 7 years, and maybe in the last 10 years, is that we have not only been able to get access to our own markets, thanks to programs such as Atmanirbhar and putting the right kind of tariffs and so on, we've also been able to access other markets because of the geopolitical space that has been created through the policies that this government has adopted. And that is showing up in terms of the enlarged exports that we have been having. And yes, in the last quarter of FY23, there was a dip, there was a dip in both exports and imports. But overall, we have been able to make a larger dent in terms of how much market we get globally. Now, in terms of the fundamentals, we have the market, which is a large population. We have the resources. We have almost every mineral that the world needs. We have that in India. Some are in a position to be mined. Some still needs to be brought to a position where it can be mined in an economic manner. We also have the human resources. And yes, we need to focus more on human resources, but statistically out of the 1.4 billion people that we have, we got still sufficient human resources to power this country forward in various services sectors, in technology, and so on and so forth. So there should typically be nothing that should be stopping India back. We have the resources, we have the mineral resources, the human resources, the market. The impediments that were coming in was in terms of a complete lack of infrastructure, a significant issue in terms of ease of doing business, and in terms of the regular red tapeism that was there on the ground. Now, if you look at from the year 2000 onwards, we started on a journey of building infrastructure. The first, cross-nation highways started getting built. which were the first time after Shershah Suri fixed the Grand Trunk Road that we, in those 500-year period, this was the first time that a new highway was being set up. That kind of powered our growth in that whole decade of 2000 to 2010, thanks to that infrastructure coming in. Now we see that from 2014-15 onwards, that experimentation has been turned into a complete vengeance, where we are growing and we are rolling out infrastructure at a pace that is completely unprecedented, even unprecedented by the standards of China. The rate at which we are laying out roads today is much more than what even China was doing. So we're laying out road infrastructure, we're laying out ports, river ports, seaport, coastal shipping, airports, you name it. And that is obviously going to have both the direct impact of the amount of construction that it's leading to, as well as a significant multiplier effect that's coming in. Now, if you look at just the construction numbers that came out in 2023, there was a 10.4% growth that happened.
Right,
a lot of that is happening because of the infrastructure that's being put into place.
Absolutely.
And it's a very potent combination that we are in. If we do not have climate change issues coming in, if we do not have a black swan event happening, we should be on target in terms of what India's potential is before the end of this decade.